Faith, hope, courage. Individually, three very powerful words. And when integrated into an annual event to celebrate those who exemplify these doctrines, it becomes greater than the sum of its parts. This year we heard 6 stories of faith, hope, and courage from some who we welcome back and others who we've met for the first time.
Everybody here to me is a friend and a hero. And I just want to thank you for coming to celebrate a bunch of really good people that are trying to make a difference. And a lot of people in this room are coming alongside the Force for Good to help make a difference.
Scott Wapata's path to Executive Director of Community Action Center in Northfield and Faribault, Minnesota, was paved with youth leadership as well as an insurance claims leader for catastrophic events.
I want to talk a little bit about Community Action Center and some of the things we realize that our work isn't about. We provide at Community Action Center, or CAC, we provide food, shelter, clothing, transportation for low-income families. Often, it's in crisis, it can be in the middle of the night, it can be during the day, it's at all times. My cell phone rings at all hours of the night with our local law enforcement because we're an emergency response. And yet, even in that simplicity of basic needs, I'll tell you, our work is not about food or shelter or clothing or transportation. We don't measure our success in how many calories we pumped out into the community. We don't actually think a lot about food, especially anymore. Personally, I had a moment in my more professional career when I was working at Travelers Insurance, and my job was handling claims. And so if your home or your business had some type of catastrophic loss, whether it was fire or water or a tornado, I would show up, and the job I was given was to assess the damages, write a construction estimate, and work with you and contractors on kind of repairing everything. And I remember at some point my vice president asked me, he said, "Scott, describe your job in one word." And I took some time and I thought about it, and I came back with the line, ministry. It's about ministry. Everybody in the room laughed because that wasn't the answer I was supposed to give. But the idea that if you're gonna show up, sometimes in all hours of the night with local law enforcement, and you're gonna sit down next to a family that just is watching their house burn to the ground, and you think your job is to write a construction estimate, you might have missed. I was showing up at somebody's greatest, most vulnerable moment and had $1 billion checkbook in my pocket. And this was a chance to do ministry. This was a chance to stand with somebody and sit with them and just be with them in a moment of absolute tragedy. And if we don't embrace that moment, we're just ignoring who we are as humans, and we're forgetting about the fact that it's not about burgers, it's not about water, and it wasn't about claims. And as you look at, for many of you, a lot of you have been involved in coaching. I was a soccer coach for over a decade at Northfield High School. And at some point, every coach, I think, realizes it's not about soccer, it's not about football, it's not about basketball. There's so much beauty and fun and joy in that, but there's nothing like the pure joy of just working with children and youth and kids and the joy of competing and playing.
There is no doubt that Scott understands what the goals should be, but managing the needs of many has been a huge logistical challenge.
Last year in 2020, we probably did somewhere between 10 and 20 years worth of work in 12 months. Our needs in our food world jumped by 4 to 10 times at different times. We went from 5 or 6 families in emergency shelter to 50 to 60 families in emergency shelter work. And so the logistics were unbelievably challenging. And so I think from our standpoint though, it's always, we always balance that with remembering why we're really doing it. I think our goal is about being accessible. That's like a common phrase we talk all the time about is like low barrier, partially for people who need help because it's really awfully challenging and vulnerable to ask for help, but also low barrier for people who want to help. And so what does it feel like to come and want to give back? And is that as simple as stocking a shelf? Or to be honest, we have people who do film work and they come in and they help film things. And we have people who are sustainability, environmental engineers, and it's like, how do we make a route for them to kind of do justice work in their community and to give back? And so, yes, and at times, there just isn't anybody to do the thing that maybe needs to get done. And so, one of the things I've found is that The people who use CAC or come and get support from CAC also have a very deep well of gratitude and appreciation. And so what we've really seen is, as we've been hiring and as we find volunteers, a lot of people who have typically used CAC are now employed, kind of like every third Saturday and having a coffee shop. And so now people are helping each other who have now walked the road to recovery or a couple steps ahead, and so now they're helping other people on that road to recovery. That's the encouragement and the outpouring. And it comes from all avenues, from donors to volunteers to staff to clients and the whole works.
If there is one thing through Scott's work and message that stands out, it's empowering people. By making the path more accessible for people to get help, Scott and everyone at CAC have found that the path becomes more accessible for those same people to ultimately help others. Tammy Broughton has been a fixture at Legends Golf Club for 20 years. She truly enjoys engaging with everyone from employees to customers. She also was an avid runner until one day she experienced heart trouble that has impacted her and her family in many ways.
I was training for Twin Cities. It would have been the second time around, and my friend and I were at Cleary Lake doing our training run, and all of a sudden things just weren't right. Went over to Park Nicollet, and so after lots of testing and different doctors, they found out that I have this really rare heart disease. It's called ARVD, and it's where your ventricles don't work together. So one side will be going like this, the other side's like this, and so it just causes a really bad electric. So most everybody's will going this way, mine's going all the way all the time. It was over that day. So they said no more running, no nothing. To this date, I've had 9 heart surgeries and counting. It's been a life-changing thing, but for me, I know this is God's way of saying, Tammy, slow down. Slow down, enjoy your life, see what's going on, because as anybody out there who runs, you're a different breed. It's go, 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 and you just, you forget about the small things in life because you just want to train, and it is different in you when you're a runner. So through genetic testing, we did find out that the 2 of them have it. So my oldest, Jordan, the gene mutates, and so it actually passed him. It is in my daughter, who is my second, and then Matthew, my youngest. It's sad when you see on the news that some of the kids they're athletes, and all of a sudden they just drop dead on the ice rink, on the basketball court. And if we could have a program, there's a protocol for concussions. I would love to see it in the high school if they could just give the kids a simple EKG, because you can find it.
Tammy and her family have been inspirational in the way they've continued to battle, while also being an advocate for more testing and education in schools. It is often said that you should find a need and fill that need. For Tammy Metcalf-Filzen, that need presented itself over time, through a difficult family life growing up, by playing and coaching basketball, and overall, her life experience and relationship with God. The need became Whispers of Hope, where their vision is offering women the opportunity to take a pause in life for rest, encouragement, and emotional healing, where women can benefit from a peaceful and supportive environment that helps them see who God says they are.
In 2010, my last year of coaching at Carleton, I took my oldest daughter to the women's basketball Final Four in St. Louis. While we were there, we were invited to visit a Mercy Ministry home, a home that supports women. We toured, worshiped, listened to their mission, and then sat down and had lunch with the women. My daughter and I sat down and quickly discovered that the residents sitting on either side of us were from Minnesota. I asked why they came all the way to St. Louis for help. Their response was, there isn't anything like this in Minnesota. And that was it. That was the defining moment where I realized what God was asking me to do next.
Tammy feels that as a Christian, she is led by Christ and the Holy Spirit, as well as her significant human partnerships. The first is her husband, Dave, with whom she has 7 children. The other is her partner at Whispers of Hope, Connie Olson.
Dave is a loving, kind, hardworking physical therapist who had helped me confront my past and supported me completely in my coaching endeavors and in the life mission of Whispers of Hope. My second significant partnership is a ministry partnership with a very special and gifted co-founder, Connie Olson, who's here today. Connie's responsible for helping me process my early life, heal, and move forward over many, many hours of talking and walking. After countless miracle stories, here we are today with Whispers of Hope, a ministry that has recently started its 8th year of operation on a 7-acre farm in rural southeast Minnesota. We started without a penny, with a year of prayer under our belt where we were guided to function in a very unique way, not the same way other ministries or organizations are led. And here we are today, humbled, excited, encouraged, and honored to serve. Through our operational pillars, I'll share them with you. We don't ask for money, we pray. We don't take government money, because that way we're free to share hope in Christ. We are all volunteers. We tithe 10% of everything that comes in to other ministries working with women, and our services are free for any women. God has shown himself to be faithful, gracious, and good. Every need we have had has been met. Financial, hands-on labor and support, prayer support, and we find ourselves in a place of gratitude and humility because with God and together with a team of hundreds of volunteers, Whispers of Hope has become a reality.
But the other thing that we really have a heart to do is to serve women who are serving. So, women who are working with other organizations and they can't ever find a place to gather, have a small retreat, that kind of thing. We're able to accommodate that. Or even things like Connie does these 2-day intensive counseling sessions. So it's November and she's already booked into February, and her vision, she's actually writing a training manual for that, but her vision is to bring 4 or 5 other counselors on site at the same time and run those intensives as a seminar once a month, where we can actually double the number of women we serve in a month.
Well, if you spend 10 minutes with us, you will know that God answered our prayer. There is no way that these 2 ladies could have pulled this off. God took a basketball coach and with a difficult childhood and a wallpaper who has a gift of listening, 2 very common people with whom he has chosen to do extraordinary things, and we are grateful and humbled.
Tammy, Connie, and Whispers of Hope will continue to pray and minister to women in need. Since Faith, Hope, and Courage began, Jack Taggart has shared his story each and every year. We hope for a time when Jack no longer updates us with treatments, but rather his full and permanent recovery. This year, he joined us virtually as he recovers in isolation.
Hi everyone, my name is Jack Taggart. I'm 17 years old and a senior at Lakeville South High School. For those of you that don't know me, here's a quick recap of my story. In 2012, I was diagnosed with acute lymphoblastic leukemia at the age of 8. I went through 3.5 years of treatment only to relapse in 2017. I received a bone marrow transplant later that year. 8 months later, I was diagnosed with avascular necrosis in my left hip as a result of the chemotherapy and radiation. In January 2019, I received a total hip replacement at the age of 14. In October of that year, I relapsed again and received CAR T-cell therapy. While my ALL is still in remission, testing done earlier this year revealed that I had developed a secondary cancer from all the chemo I've had for the past 9 years. This genetic mutation would eventually become acute myeloid leukemia, which is a more aggressive form of leukemia. After discussing treatment options with my doctors and consulting with experts in both Milwaukee and Denver, they all advised that a second bone marrow transplant would be the best long-term treatment. We were told that we could wait if we wanted, but that as soon as it progressed into leukemia, it would be much harder to treat. So I made the difficult decision to proceed with transplant. I checked into the hospital on August 27th this year, where I had a Hickman line placed in my chest and started a week of conditioning chemo. After the week of chemo, I received my second bone marrow transplant from my brother Evan. After nearly 7 weeks in the hospital, I was discharged and I'm now recovering at home on isolation. I have clinic visits twice a week and do daily infusions at home. I've started working with a homebound teacher and have been applying to colleges. I've already missed out on a lot this year, but my goal is to recover enough by March to be able to travel to Ireland with my marching band to perform in the St. Patrick's Day Parade in Dublin. I'm also eager to get back to school to finish out my senior year. Thank you for coming today, and I hope to see you all in person at next year's Faith, Hope, and Courage event.
Jack continues to exemplify the principles of faith, hope, and courage. We were reminded of Every Third Saturday's mission and their humble beginnings with Tom and Jesse McKenna giving away blankets and sundries from the family minivan to the construction of a community center so homeless vets can regain that sense of pride and unity.
But being part of this team, being part of Force for Good is just, it's humbling and it's exciting. We got our first walkthrough of the building. It has walls and it has ceilings and window openings, and we got to walk through and we could feel it. And just like Scott had said earlier, it's not what we do at ETS that's important, it's how we do it. Do we do it with love? Do we do it with respect? Do we do it with dignity? And as we walk through the building, as we walk through each room, we could feel it. You could feel what's going to happen there.
It's incredible. Coming from where we were trying to renovate a 100-year-old gas station that was never going to work, but we were trying our damnedest. And now to go from that to demolition to a clean blank canvas, where it was graded out, and now it's going up.
Tom McKenna also recognizes that in order to help veterans, you first have to have them be present. The community center is very important in that goal.
They may know it or not know it, but they're waiting for something. And with all these different people, all these different voices and perspectives, we hope and anticipate that it's going to hit that nerve and the light bulb will go on and they're going to light up and feel like, yes, now you're talking my language. The anticipation kills me sometimes. I don't know what's going to happen. When I know it's going to be good because there's so many good people involved, and there's no way it can go sideways or off track like some organizations do. Growth is hard. Growth management is a difficult process. So we're learning, but we have so much support and people who know what they're doing in specific places and areas, and people we can lean on and say, we don't know how to handle this. How about some advice? And people are right on it. So.
Every Third Saturday hopes to open the doors to their new community center in late spring or early summer. We welcomed back Frank Hall, a family man, father, and football coach who in 2012 at Chardon High School became a national symbol of faith, hope, and courage by chasing a school shooter out of the building with little to no regard for his own safety. He is a larger-than-life character, and when he speaks, you see why he has been able to mentor and coach so effectively.
I want to talk to you about life and the process of life. It's not about graduations or birthdays or Christmas. It's about Monday morning. It's about Wednesday afternoon. You get a call from the principal, and the principal says, well, your son, he's not doing the right things. And it's about being there for those moments that you don't celebrate. It's the tough times. Like I said, I used to walk around saying a lot, no, we're Halls, we go to work, we go to school. That's it. But the process in life, the moments that your child says, I hurt so much that I don't want to live anymore. That's when you become a Cheyenne dog soldier. Cheyenne dog soldiers. Back in the day, the Cheyenne dog soldier would take a stake, and when the Cheyenne were amongst the battle that they were going to lose, the Cheyenne dog soldier would take the stake and drive it in the ground, and he would tie himself to that stake. And he would say, you know what? This is where we make the battle. That's what life's about, that process. When you drive the stake into the ground and you tie yourself down, you say you're not going to leave, you're going to talk it through, and you're going to figure it out. Guys, there's going to come a time in your life where you're going to have to stick a stake in the ground, and you're going to have to tie yourself to it, and you're just going to have to stand and fight. Not a smart man, not very elegant, as you can tell in speaking, but there's been times in life where I just stuck a stake in the ground, I tied myself to it, and I went to war, I went to fight. That's how you do it.